So David had a great question. We were kind of talking about, making animations with Claude Code, and he, watched my initial video and then also kind of set up some really great animations himself, which I absolutely love. Obviously, there's always more tweaking that you can do, and I'm creating videos on how to do that. But he had this idea of creating a front-end UI that allows him to control Claude, right? Right now, he's using VS Code, which is what I tell people to install, and it's a great place to kind of use it. But he wanted something a little bit better that he could like monitor or observe how the agents are kind of working. Now, the problem is whenever you're using Claude Code or Claude CLI, is you can use your subscription. You can use your Anthropic subscription, so it doesn't cost as much. If you did API calls for all of this, it'd be really expensive. But with the subscription, it's not as expensive. But as soon as you're building a front end, it's a lot easier quickly, or at least you would think, to use, Anthropic calls, because then it's kind of clunky to control Claude Code through your own front end. However, there are ways to get around this. And so I went and actually had Claude do a little bit of digging to see what some open source files are out there for. And there's actually some really great open source repos that are already out there where you can control Claude through this like kind of downloadable front end. And it can even track usage if you are using the front end, as well as this other one where you're able to do it through your mobile. Now, there are ways to actually control Claude Code remotely, and I've actually installed that where I use it through my phone. So I'm going to make a video on all of that, but I wanted to make a quick video real quick on this idea of like me actually researching it and processing like what it could look like, because I'm actually going to go ahead and develop a front end specifically for this, where essentially you can access it. But on top of that, it might be able to make kind of like a web service for you, or some sort of like a web. You're able to navigate the folders, not just like simple folders like this, which is how I currently do it, but maybe something like a mind map or a web map. And so I actually told Claude how, hey, this is my idea. Let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's use what they're doing in these open source areas. Let's look at each of those repos. But also, I used my own build that I have personally on my computer here, right? This is my animation workflow, how I go from scripts to animations. And there's a lot here. And don't worry, I have a course that's going to be breaking all of this down in detail. But at the end of the day, I wanted to share kind of my Claude MD, right? Because I give Claude the same markdown file before I'm ever using it, which shows the file structure, shows all of this stuff. In this case, though, I'm working backwards. I'm giving Claude my structure, my file, saying, hey, what if we made a front end directly around this folder system and around what I'm trying to do here, around my script design, around my areas here, and kind of working with it on this area. And so it's come up with some really good ideas for the architecture around it and understanding it. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm not going to have Claude build it in the desktop. Sometimes I use the desktop one just because it has, a lot of memory and it's easier to use. I'm actually going to have it make a PRD document. Now, a PRD document is a product requirements document, right? PRD doc is really something useful. It's used in software programming, things like that. It describes what kind of stacks you need, right? What your integrations might be, what you're trying to do, targeting, right? Things like that. And Claude understands what PRDs are. But I specifically say a PRD, make a PRD markdown of this for Claude Code, as in it will read it, that describes what we are trying to do and breaks down steps and structure for early phase to late phase, right? So just trying to get it to kind of break it into steps rather than build the whole thing at once. And what this is going to do is it's going to give me a document that then I can go in and read and edit. Now, I have a background in software, so it makes it easier for me to know, oh, I don't really want to use that software, or, oh, it's being too complicated there. But you can actually feed this into another version of Claude and have it act as that auditor, and it can kind of redo it there, which is really cool. So immediately, it's going to do that. It's for this. I'm the owner, right? And it gives this all descriptions. When this is done, I can download it, drop it into my workspace, and actually have it build the front end inside of this workspace just by simply opening up my next thing, Claude Code, and saying, hey, read the PRD for the front end. Once I drop it in here, it's immediately going to be able to see that and move that in there. So pretty cool. Just wanted to make a quick update video on this. I'll make a course on both of these very soon.